In episode 145 for November 2nd, 2020, Kevin Johnson joins me to discuss the U.S. government's attempt to prevent disinformation and rumors about the election, a new ransomware threat targeting U.S. hospitals, and the news about 6 Russian hackers that were charged for some of the biggest cyber attacks in the last decade. Protect your digital privacy with Silent Pocket's product line of patented Faraday bags, phone cases, and wallets, which will make your devices untrackable, unhackable, and undetectable. Visit silentpocket.com today to check out their full line of products, and don't forget to use discount code SHAREDSECURITY to receive 10% off your order at checkout.
Is your team starting to show signs of fatigue from traditional security awareness compliance training, or from phishing assessments that target them for those teachable moments? As we've seen in recent news, these kinds of training are having a negative impact on corporate culture, and they're really not all that effective. So there has to be a better way. ClickArmor is the first gamified learning platform that helps build a self-defending team through engaging learning challenges and exercises. Its unique lesson templates, built with proven gamification techniques, let people learn and exercise important defensive concepts in a safe and fun environment. Whether you need to quickly deploy a training solution that gets people to stop clicking on things immediately, or you've got your own boring content that needs to be put into a more interesting user experience, ClickArmor can help. So go to clickarmor.ca/sharedsecurity to learn how to build a self-defending team.
Welcome to episode 145 of the weekly Shared Security Show. And joining me is everyone's favorite guest, Kevin Johnson.
I never know exactly how you're going to introduce
I know,
me.
it's fun. Every time it's different. That's right. So how you doing, Kevin?
I'm so tired. If anybody ever says to you, do you want to teach a course for an organization in Mozambique, but do it online from home?
Yeah.
Say no. Because class starts at 3 a.m.
Oof. Yeah, 3 a.m. is rough. Yeah.
I'm okay with 3 a.m. if I'm up till then.
But not after.
You know what I mean? Like if you make it to 3 a.m., that's okay. But if you start at 1:45 to get to 3 a.m., it's not good.
Yeah. So we're recording this on the 29th of October, which is Thursday, and we all know what Tuesday is.
Oh my gosh, it is Tuesday, isn't it?
This coming Tuesday.
So I guess the argument that everybody knows what Tuesday is wrong, because I had forgotten.
So
and we literally just talked about voting.
Yes. Everyone in the world knows what Tuesday is except for you. And you should
except for me.
Vote. You need to vote, Kevin. So don't.
Oh, my plan is to go tomorrow morning to early voting. I don't early vote much before the election in Florida. Because not for the big election like the president or Congress, but here in Florida, as you can probably guess, we very often have situations where, like a week before the election, the week before the primary, the sheriff was arrested. And by being arrested, was no longer eligible for. So if I had been wanting to vote for him, that would have been a waste. So in Florida, we try to play it safe and vote close enough to the election that if they were going to get arrested, they would have already been arrested.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And you're no longer using the chads or the paper ballots, right? So that's not a problem anymore.
So
because
the worst part is, I lived in Palm Beach County when that election happened. One of my votes might have been a hanging chad.
It could have been you that messed up the whole election.
Totally my fault. Totally my fault.
Completely.
Yeah, we have a Sharpie marker that you draw a little line. Lowest common denominator.
Yes.
Florida.
Well, so those of you listening to this on Monday, it'll be a day before the election. So here is your reminder. If you haven't voted yet and you have early voting, please do so. And if you do plan on voting tomorrow, make sure you do that as well.
Yes. Please
exercise your rights. No matter what side you're on, it's very important that you vote.
Yeah. My answer is always vote for the right person. but the right person is who you think is the right person. I got some ideas, but
yes. So, kind of talking about the election and disinformation and misinformation. There was an interesting site that went up from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. We all know those guys. There was this a site about reality versus rumor, and I actually thought it was very interesting that of course our government is now sending out information about what is factual versus non-factual with the topic of the election and voting. And in fact, it actually I think it causes a little bit of controversy with our own government, which is saying one thing and government agencies saying another. Basically, I got out of it that they're fact checking our own government officials.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
I believe we should always be fact checking our own government officials. Please make sure that if you're going to refer to them as representatives, not leaders, because they're not leaders.
So, go ahead.
No. My big question is: do you think the CISA director Chris Krebs got his job because of his last name?
He might have, because Krebs is a pretty famous name in security.
Yeah. I think Brian maybe Krebs. The government thought, "Oh, you're that guy that writes those articles. We should hire you."
You're hired. That's an interesting angle to take there.
Yeah. Not very helpful.
But I thought that it answers a lot of questions that we've talked about on the show of, is voter registration data publicly available? Is, the voter registration websites, can they be hacked? And of course, our favorite is, mail-in voting. Is it fraudulent? That's a hot topic, right?
It is totally fraudulent if the person I didn't want to win wins.
So
that's how you determine it.
But I think it's good, and we'll have the link in the show notes, but you can read it for yourself. But a big question of and this is on people's minds, right? I mean, are there safeguards in place to protect, the election process, the entire process, not just mail-in ballots, but everything? And I think it's good for everyone to educate themselves on what the facts are. So it's good to see an article like that.
I think the key word is educate yourself. That's not a word, but
absolutely,
we'll ignore the space and call it a word. And I think that's a key phrase because, and I want to be very clear, when we say educate yourself, we mean actually educate yourself, not read some echo chamber of crud that because I feel like a lot of the disinformation they're saying is so similar to, I don't know why this came up. I had a stupid question a couple weeks ago on Twitter, and I said it was a stupid question, and it was about police, and it was totally around the idea of, I was watching the show SWAT. You ever watch that show?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's not a good show. But I'm watching the show, and every single episode, the SWAT team goes in, right, and they kill somebody. There is not a single episode that the SWAT team does not shoot somebody and the person die. And in most episodes, multiple people are shot and die. And the show just goes on. And I realized that, one, I posted a question that about how this works, but I realized that in almost every case that we look at rumors, myths, things people believe, and the police drama thing comes to mind with, if I ask you if you're a cop, you have to tell me you're a cop. That's BS, right? It's the same thing with election security, is that we hear something.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the voter registration data is been hacked. How is it hacked? They released people's names and addresses. Okay, that's public data. In as far as I know, every state, but I may be wrong on every state. But when you register to vote, you're in Florida. I can speak specifically. In Florida, when you register to vote, your name and address are published.
Right.
Plain and simple. And so this idea that the voter data got out, it did on purpose, right? And we can argue whether that makes sense or not. But what we see is people are shocked by this because they've always heard that your vote is secret. And somehow they take my vote is secret to everything about being a voter is secret, right? And so we have these misconceptions. And so I'm thrilled to see that they talk about it.
Yeah.
But you have to educate yourself. You have to understand how things work. And you also have to understand that most of what you see publicly in the election system, the voter registration website, the CNN or Fox News, whichever one you want to pick, tally of who's winning, none of those have anything to do with the security of your actual vote, of your ability. And if you don't understand that those are very different things, then education's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is. So I think this site is great. It's got a bunch of questions. I do have some nitpickiness about the way it presents the data. I don't like.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like the checkbox and the
it
kind of a little confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like it tells you the true thing first and then the fake thing second. And in my head, that's not how you disprove something. It sounds like my first read of it, I'm like, that's not right. Because I read it as the first thing was the rumor and the second thing was the true thing. I'm like, no, wait. Oh, I got it. So, and I'll admit I'm not that smart. So, but that's my feedback. But I love the site. I think that's good. And I think more places should be sharing this kind of stuff.
I agree. So yeah, hat tip to Dave Lauer, one of our listeners, for sending that to me. So nice. Thank you, Dave. By the way, well, you don't have a hat, but by the way, Dave was one of the co-hosts of the other podcast I used to do way back in the day, which was Security Justice. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh.
Blast from the past.
I have not thought about Security Justice in forever. Oh man, that was a great podcast.
I was.
That was actually one of the, even before I really worked with you, dealt with you, I guess. I don't know. That was actually one of the few podcasts I listened to. I don't listen to very many podcasts.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, yeah. So now I'm going to have to be forced to put the archive of those podcasts into the show notes. So for anyone.
Yes, you are.
We'll pull up old interviews of Kevin from 2012.
Oh man.
Yes. So the other kind of breaking news, I know this was yesterday, the previous week for those of you listening on Monday, but there is a big announcement from the FBI and other government agencies, including the FBI, about a massive threat about a ransomware attack that could affect, they were saying, about 400 hospitals. That's actually what Brian Krebs had reported through one of his sources. And I find this interesting that this news would come out, ironically, right before the election.
Yeah. And be so absolutely useless.
Yeah, and they had no indicators of compromise. They just basically sent out this big warning of, hey guys, this is what's going to happen. Good luck. I mean, I don't know. I know that they came out with another alert today, which I have not read, which I think has more detail. But I don't know, Kevin, what do you think? I mean, everybody's getting hit by ransomware, so nobody should be
surprised.
Shocked, right?
And hospitals have been targeted forever. So being surprised by this, I read through the alert, and I want to be very clear. I read through it from the link you sent me.
Yeah.
About 30 minutes ago, I got an email from an FBI.gov email address. It's the local InfraGard contact.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's a PDF of that report emailed to a blanket BCC list of InfraGard members. And I laugh because the FBI is sending out PDFs, and that's so trustworthy.
I know, but it's still the government.
Oh my God, people! But I hate to say it, but my entire read of that alert was that it was marketing for the one threat intelligence company that released it, and for Mandiant, because this guy, I can't remember his name, Holden. From Hold Security.
Hold Security,
yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm reading this dark web forum and I see these people discussing an elevated attack against hospitals to use the Ryuk ransomware tool. But I can't tell you any indicators of compromise. I can't tell you where I got the data. I can't tell you how to prevent yourself. And oh, by the way, if you want protection and more services, you can hire us to do threat intelligence.
Well, some guy just said
it's not an ad.
Yeah, some guy that was on that call just said They said that just patch your systems and report anything suspicious.
Exactly. Like, no duh. Like, okay, great. Was that worth an alert? No. And the problem is, and this is where I get angry, right? That we have too many, I'm not going to say security researchers.
I know you hate security researchers, so
I don't hate security researchers. I hate people who use the title to do stupid stuff. But we have too many people who think that the way to help is to send out useless information. And when the FBI and DHS and HHS, which are the three organizations that I believe sent this out, accept useless information and send it out to hospital and healthcare organizations who are already, oh my God, overwhelmed with stuff, all you did was make it worse. Because here's what's going to happen. At the hospital that you're near, there's a security person or an IT person who's responsible for security that is already overwhelmed with pandemic response, with staff that are working too many hours, with networks that haven't been patched in 4,000 years because some vendor has convinced them that the FDA won't let them patch, which is BS, by the way. And that person is overwhelmed with stuff. Now the FBI sends out this notification. You know what's going to happen. The CEO of the hospital, every doctor, the receptionist at the front door is going to call that dude and say, oh my God, did you see? We're being attacked by ransomware. Do something now.
Yeah.
It makes me so, I'm so pissy about this. Sorry.
It's Kevin Rage.
Like, the person doing that, and there are some really, really smart people working in the healthcare. There's really smart people that are trying to do the right thing there. And all we're doing is walking by and kicking them in the shins for the benefit of a security threat intelligence company that is going to try to sell their service to hospitals. That's my opinion, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but screw you, hippie. This is evil. And the FBI and HHS and DHS helping with it, they should know better. That's like saying, hey, you know what? We heard some rumors that a whole bunch of people, no, I got a better one. Have you ever heard the thing that if you're driving down the highway and somebody doesn't have their lights on, don't flash your lights at them?
Oh, yes.
Tell them? Because it's gang initiation, right? You've heard that, right?
Yes, I have, yes.
Yeah. So imagine if the FBI sent that out to everybody. What can you do about it? Nothing.
Nope.
What effectiveness did it have? None. But every single organization that deals with driving, truck drivers, whatever, is going to have to respond. How did you handle that? Because I've already received the emails from the healthcare organizations that I work with. Some of them have already emailed me to say, Kevin, what are you doing to prevent the ransomware attacks that are coming against healthcare that may affect you? You know what I'm doing? Nothing. Nothing additional from what I've done every other day. So yeah, sorry. Just
it's important topic because I think we all inherently trust alerts like that from the FBI and government agencies. And to your point about healthcare right now, and if you're honestly, I would hate to be a CISO at a major hospital or working on the security team. I can't imagine the pressure that they are under with not just, things like, ransomware taking down their entire network like it did in, Texas, hundreds of hospitals got all shut down.
Germany just recently, right?
Yeah, someone died in Germany because of that. It's an enormous amount of stress. And on top of that, we have the pandemic and,
and what's happening with the pandemic for IT shops. They're being told that they have to stand up infrastructure to support. I mean, okay, we have a tent out in front of our hospital. Our local hospital has a tent for testing, and it's got equipment and everything else in this tent. And the IT team had to set that up overnight, right? Like, make that work. Firewall rules were changed and no change tickets were put.
Of course.
Right? Yeah.
Of course. And that's where mistakes happen. Yeah.
Sorry. There's my rant.
Crazy stuff. No, good rant. Good rant. So kind of on the same lines of the government. Here's the theme today: is government.
Government. It's the
But,
election.
yeah, it's the election. But what do you think of the announcement the other week? I didn't cover this because I did a show about voting privacy. But the Department of Justice released that they announced that they have those 6 Russian nationals they're charging. That are part of Sandworm, right? That's the elite Russian hacking unit, or one of many, I'm sure. Yeah. And they're charging them for, I guess it's like attacks over a whole decade of
2010, I think.
It goes way back. What's your thoughts on this, Kevin, in terms of impact? Does this really matter at the end of the day?
No. What do you do? Hi, we've done charges for 6 Russian guys who live in a house. We happen to know where the house is because I guess some of them registered their car there or something.
Something like that.
Right, something like that. So we've indicted them. Oh man, they're going to be arrested. So if those 6 Russian people ever come to the U.S.
when you can travel to the U.S.
people are ever paying attention, they may or may not be arrested. To me, most of these indictments that like that, where we're indicting this Chinese group or this Russian group or whatever, most of them are for 2 purposes. One, political flim flam. Like, or hey, flexing. Look what we did. Yeah. We accomplished something. And 2, to make it so it seems like we are accomplishing something. I know those are probably the same thing, but I think that most of the time it's just to make somebody look good.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, it's for some type of political, I can't think of the word, negotiation. Like, look, I charge 6 of your guys. Fine, I'm going to charge 6 of your guys. And then 6 months from now, there'll be something where Russia will say, hey, we need this. And if you do it, we'll do this. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it is. It serves no purpose except to make people think we've accomplished something.
Yeah. And arresting foreigners especially from a country that we're not, I would say we're on the greatest terms with Russia right now.
Right.
It's not like they're going to say, oh yeah, you guys are right. Here you go.
We got a plane. We'll ship them.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, Kevin, just about in a lot of these stories, I guess I'm seeing a lot of, our leaders, our political leaders in the country, I won't name names, but are, saying things about their own government agencies and the people that they put in to those positions. And those agencies are saying the complete opposite, right?
Yep.
It's the strangest time I've ever known, like in our country, where we have that.
We've had weird places where an agency has said something and the leadership of the whatever has said something else, but never to the level we have now.
Not
and I don't know. I believe very firmly that we are better than this. And I believe very firmly that if we just keep doing what we're supposed to be doing, and I'm talking about everything, politics, life, whatever, if we just keep doing what we're supposed to be doing and helping the people around us, and with this Russian indictment, it doesn't affect anything. What we need to keep doing is just paying attention to what they're trying to do. And in this case, they're trying to sow disinformation. So if we all just shared stuff, if we just talked about stuff and looked at things, pay attention. And I know for a fact, for me, I've pretty much stopped logging into Facebook. My accounts don't exist. I've got access if I need to advertise stuff, because like my company page is associated there and everything else like that. We talked about that previously. When we see things like we indicted these 6 people, what we need to do is we need to recognize that we indicted them because we believe that the charge is correct. Now, we know that innocent until proven guilty. We know that, right, like all of that kind of stuff. I'm not saying, oh, they were indicted, because if we go by that, everybody indicted is guilty. That's BS. But if we say, okay, they indicted, that meant there was an investigation, that meant there was some data about this. I wonder what they were indicted for. Go read it. Okay, they were indicted for disinformation. Well, what kind of disinformation are they? Okay, let's go read that, right? And then what you have to do is you have to really judge whether you were one of the people sharing that data. Because let's be very clear, the 6 Russian people over there doing this, let's say they're guilty. I happen to believe they are, right? Like let's go with it, okay? They're guilty. They shared this stuff. Those 6 people did not share enough disinformation stuff by themselves.
No, absolutely not.
To cause this problem. We did. And I'll guarantee you, I've not gone back and looked at everything I've shared, but I guarantee you there were things I shared that were not true.
We all have, probably.
Yeah. And there were times I shared something because I thought, man, that's stupid. Look at the dumb thing they're saying. And I actually saw other people take it and go, oh, Kevin thinks that's true. It is true. Oh, man. No, it's not what I said. Other times I shared things and found out it was not true, right? We have to pay attention to what's being done. And so I think the indictment has a good, as dumb as I think it is to do, as much as I think it's a, look, we accomplished something, I do think there's good from it if we pay attention to why it happened. That makes sense?
Great points. Yeah.
So,
that's all for this week, I think.
That works.
That's enough. Woo. Those are some
you
hot
mean you don't
topics.
have another political government story to talk about?
I want to remind people this is not a political podcast, and in fact, no, I'm being totally serious. Like, I think this show, we take a very objective view of what's going on in cybersecurity and privacy, right? And we don't have a bias towards one side or another. We want to give the kind of the open view of things, right?
I disagree.
Uh-oh.
No, I disagree. I think you and I both, and I'm going to use me because I'm here, but we all have a bias.
Well, of course. Yes.
Right. Well, I'm saying that on purpose because when we say we are unbiased, I'm being pedantic, okay?
Now, I never said we were unbiased.
We didn't. You said we didn't have a bias. Check the tape, man. Check the
tomato.
But what we have to recognize is we have biases.
Everyone does. Yes, I agree.
As long as we recognize we have the bias and try to evaluate it. Look, I do. I have a bias. I am of a political stance, right? And I believe that my political stance is correct. And I believe that what I think is the right way to go is the right way to go. But what I have to make sure is that that doesn't change how I present something, right? And if it does change it, like I'll be very blunt, my pissy rant at the FBI and DHS and HHS is in part because of my political stance, right? I don't like government doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. And to me, and that's not a specific party, like anybody want to try to tie that to a party, you're wrong. But to me, that does impact my rant. But as long as we're presenting it as, I do think, I've always said, you do a very good job of, there are many times where I don't know where you stand on a political issue, even after you've discussed the things related to it, which is good. That's
mission accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
For the record, you will see no political signs on my yard.
Okay, I asked a question recently on Twitter, and I didn't get any good answers.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of political signs in your yard.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever changed their vote because of a political sign or a political flag? Like we have Trump flags and Biden flags being flown on the corners here in Orange Park. People are standing out there with flags. Both of the major presidential candidates. Do anybody ever driving down the road and go, "Oh man, that dude has a Biden flag"? I've
changed my vote.
Like or Trump flag. I've changed like
no.
Yeah.
I don't think it changes anything. I think it's just about making a statement of where
I'm cool with making statements
and maybe where your family stands. And then that's where, I know I have friends that have very divided households.
Oh, yes.
And in fact, I think I saw in the news, they did a story about there is a family that has a Trump sign and a Biden sign in their yard. Talk about confusion, right? If you're driving by, like, what does that mean? And it's because
I'll put that out there.
Yeah, see, but some families are so divided, right?
Yeah.
What if your wife supports Trump and you support Biden? I mean, that's kind of an issue, right? If you're how do you advertise that? And I could just see a lot of family strife, right?
Wasn't there a famous married couple in DC? Like she was a political analyst and he worked for
I
one of the
think
parties,
so.
or the other way around.
Yeah.
And they were very like one worked for
Oh,
Fox News and
it's
one
Kellyanne
worked for
Conway.
DNC. I'm sorry.
Kellyanne Conway, Trump's his what was her
Yeah,
job?
like her daughter
Yeah.
or something.
No,
right?
it's her
Yeah.
husband. Her husband is something like
Really? No, that's not who I'm thinking of. This was years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good example. That's a good example.
So
sorry, total tangent.
Yeah, that's a total tangent. So with that, let's
yeah.
let everyone go here. But thanks as always, Kevin, for coming on the show. Thanks to everyone listening. Here is your final reminder: go vote tomorrow. Don't forget, and we will follow up here after the election. That's a wrap for this week's show. Visit our website, sharedsecurity.net, for show notes, all previous episodes, and to sign up for our email newsletter. First-time listener of the show, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you like this episode, hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the Shared Security Show.